Welcome to Comics Oddities. My name is Eric, and today we're going to talk about the Harry Who. They're this oddball 1960s Chicago art collective that was very influential on a lot of fantastic cartoonists, and also very influential on myself and potentially you. So today we're going to deep dive, go in, show some pages from the book. I'll tell you a little bit about the Harry Who, and it'll be a great time. I promise. So, the Harry who are they? They're an art collective of recently graduated Art Institute of Chicago students Jim Falconer, Art Green, Gladys Nilsson, Sulian Roca, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and Carl Worsom. They have a lot of surrealist, Dada, kind of oddball elements to them, but they're also very inspired by pop art. This was going on in the 1960s where pop art was kind of at its peak. Andy Warhol, Roy Lichtenstein, those folks. So where that influence of pop art comes in the most is they take this kind of surreal, colorful aesthetic and then they mix it in with catalogs, posters, tattoos, graffiti, and especially, more than anything, comic books. So there's a big mixture of high art and low art within this, and there's actually a good sense of humor in these pieces as well, which is kind of rare when it comes to the art world. Everything has to be serious and academic. So this group, the Harry Who, they had all sorts of art exhibits and pop-up shows around Chicago in the 1960s. But within these shows, they would pass around these little zines. Now, they didn't call them zines at the time, but they're these little booklets with different drawings and comics they did, and they would give it out to people, which is a very kind of controversial, forward-thinking thing to do at the time, especially because drawings weren't really seen as a high art. And because this happened in the 1960s, there was a lot of comments on the Vietnam War and feminism and the civil rights movement, especially in Chicago, which is a very kind of segregated, crazy city. But they did it in this kind of unique, colorful way. And speaking of colorful, there's a lot of big influence on kind of psychedelic posters at the time as well. So the art is very colorful and surreal and trippy and crazy. And as you'll see, these art pieces and comics were very influential on a lot of great cartoonists, especially ones that were very artsy and experimental. You could definitely see a lot of Raw magazine in this, especially Gary Panter, who is a notable, huge fan of the Harry Who. Chris Ware is also a big fan, and a lot of just Chicago artists and cartoonists like John Porcellino, I'm sure Ivan Bernetti. A lot of the people who were in the Harry Who, as well as the Chicago Imagist movement, which is what the Harry Who is kind of a part of, the Chicago Imagists, went on to go teach at the Chicago Institute of Art. So a lot of the traditions and groundbreaking aesthetics that went forth in this movement was kind of passed on to other artists within this Chicago scene. I actually have a cartoonist friend who went to the Chicago Institute of Arts, and I asked him about Harry Who, because I'm a big fan, and he's like, let's just not talk about those guys. Let's just not talk about them. He hated school a lot like me, and these folks ended up becoming just a bunch of art school teachers, just a bunch of regular art school teachers who are trying to put you in a box, sadly to say. But back in the 60s, they did make some great art. So enough talking about the Harry Who. Let's go dive into this book and let's go see some of their work. Alright, here it is, The Harry Who by Giant Question Mark. Let's dive in. There's this first page up here that I thought was really cool artistically. And then also, I just kind of learned who Screamin' Jay Hawkins is. He's like the proto Captain Beefheart. He did that song that's I put a spell on you. It's really eccentric character, and he put like he like dressed up in all these weird outfits, went on stage, did some crazy performance art. But anyway, beautiful artwork as well. Look at that. All right. Here, like the first couple pages, kind of just an introduction, of course. Skip through that. And these are some of like the early zines, like the front covers that they would pass around on different art shows and whatnot. Now currently the front of this book. And here are some of the pages. I mean, look how awesome these are. And a lot of these, we got one right here, Poodle Woman, which is really crazy. I love the colors on this. I mean, it's definitely, they had, I think at the time you could only use a specific amount of colors for like newsprint, but it works so well. Yeah, so as you can see, a lot of these are comics, but they don't really read. Like, there really isn't anything going on in the actual comics, but there's no plot or idea to it. It's all visual, but you can see how it would be a big influence on a lot of different cartoonists out there. I love these colors. This bald gentleman here comes up a lot. You'll see him in a lot of the different artworks. Alright, I'm loving this. There's a lot of like the sketches they would like take out. A lot of like sketches also before the painting, preliminary sketches. This is cool as well. And this one is from Jim Nutt, who's kind of like the big baller, one of like one of the biggest members from Harry Who. And here's some more of his work. Look at this, I love this one right here. Backman. He's just pointed backwards all the time. So with Jim Nutt, the way he paints is very interesting. He actually does everything with acrylic and on plexiglass, but he paints on the opposite side of the plexiglass. So he does like all the line work first, and then he paints over like the line work. So it's kind of like he's painting from the bottom onwards. And then when you look on the other side, it's the finished product, the finished art, which I don't think anyone else really paints like that. And it says like a lot of his inspiration comes from like going to pinball machines as a kid, and just like being inspired by the pinballs behind the glass, and how you can put art behind the glass and make a kind of like three-dimensional space. This is more of like his, he does like a preliminary sketch that he kind of copies over onto the artwork. That's what this is here. It's also Jim Nutt. We have Gladys Nilsson, beautiful watercolor work. Okay, kind of around that. Definitely kind of like an outsider art quality to these comics. Beautiful work. I love this right here. I love this. And look, we have a little word balloon as well. This kind of guy reminds me of Babyface a lot from China, Illinois. A lot of influence on comic books, from comic books, and for other cartoonists out there. We have Mr. Andy Warhol. Have all the different pieces, the names of the pieces on here. This is some scenes from the gallery show. Pretty cool. This guy looks like the Vsauce guy to me a lot. I don't know if that's just me, but it was like a time traveler. The Vsauce guy is like a secret genius, invented some sort of time machine to go back to see the Harry Who. I would love to come along. Yeah, look how like grotesque and just off this art is. I love it so much. There's definitely like a zine quality to this, just like a punk zine fair quality to it. And then this is Carl Wortham right here. He's definitely the more kind of psychedelic one of them all. I'll zoom in so you get to see these. Do some tattoos. We even have like a little stamp that was put on a napkin by them. Interesting. I love this right here. I think this is an amazing art, and I had a lot to say about it because I also love the sense of humor in this, especially like the little fart bubble coming out of this guy, and like the perfect silhouette of a man falling through the floor. But I also noticed I'm pretty sure this is the guy from the Son of Man painting, the one of the first Dada paintings, where the guy with the hat and the apple. I'm not 100% sure, but I think this guy does pop up in a lot of the paintings here, and I'm pretty sure that's a reference to that painting. Because as you'll see in here, there's a lot of Dada influence in the art. Carl Wortham. Don't mind the garbage truck over there. I don't know if that will pick up or not. I love this so much. They just like had the little squares to block it out. And here's really where the Dada influence kind of comes into, is like, as you can see, these are all like cut-ups from photos and whatnot. Pretty interesting. Some more black and white work. I love these so much. These look amazing. There's definitely more like the collage Dada aspect to it. There's a few things I wanted to say. I also wanted to mention some of the other Chicago Imagists, which is the art movement that Harry Who is a part of. There's False Image, which is one of them. Non Plus Sum, and then I also discovered there's one called the Monster Roster, which was very interesting because what that is basically these World War II vets that studied at the Chicago Institute
with like the GI Bill, and they ended up making this kind of like gruesome, surreal art that was based off their experiences in World War II, which was influenced by the Harry Who. So, which influenced the Harry Who. So I found that super interesting as well, just as a Chicago Imagists group. This, I love this little piece of the ice cream cone. I actually made a comic that was inspired by that one time. Yeah, that definitely gets the pop art influence in there. The 5-cent ice cream cone. In the book I have here, this we get into their kind of sculptural mixed media work, because they also did some of that as well, not just painting. As you can see, really cool. Definitely, Carl Wortham aesthetic. Got some more Jim Nutt. I also want to say the book I have here with me is just the Harry Who, but you can also, there's another book that was on Cartoonist Kayfabe. I wrote it down, I can remember the name. The collected Harry Who publications that show all of like the zines they made for the art shows. That one is insanely expensive. This one has a little bit of everything. They have their pieces, some of the zines they made, also kind of like some of their gallery show, just like photos from their gallery shows. But if you can, definitely get the collected Harry Who publications as well, if you can afford it.
Thanks for tuning in to the end of the video. I just want to say, if you like the channel and you want to support what I'm doing and see more, obviously, slam that like button, subscribe, but also I have my own comics. UFO Bros Cheese Ray is the newest one that's currently out. I'm very proud of this. I think it's the best thing I've done. It's this surrealist, gross out, kind of stonery science fiction dark comedy book about these two alien friends who are on a epic road trip across the universe, and they stop in this kind of dark, seedy city and end up with a cheese ray of some sort. It's pretty wild, pretty crazy, but if you love reading comics, I recommend just pick one up. It's only $10 and check it out. The link is going to be in the description. But that's it for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Have a wonderful day. Eat your vegetables, get plenty of exercise, and read more comics.